Yay! The Radiance Revolution. And today we are going to talk menopause. Menopause. Woohoo! Love it or hate it, girls. Either way, we're all going to go through it, or maybe you've been through it. It's a really hot topic, isn't it? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm 46 now. Throughout last year, I blamed a lot of stuff on perimenopause. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just the menopause. You know, I was starting to get a little bit chubby around my tummy. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just the menopause. That's how it's going to be. I was feeling tired. Oh, maybe it's just the menopause. In fact, anything. In fact, if you have a look at the symptoms, you could be in perimenopause from the moment you're born, really, couldn't you?
Hopefully not.
But you know what I mean, don't you? The symptoms are like as long as a toilet roll, really, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, they are. And I think, you know, we all want to think that we've got this beautiful, healthy work-life balance and that, you know, we are like, you know, I work healing and body work and, you know, I have all this advice. And then suddenly when we moved to the UK, I probably just the stress of moving, I was having absolute massive hot sweats every 15 minutes. I couldn't leave the house without a liter of iced water, and I mean iced.
Mm.
I've never experienced anything like it. I've been cold my whole life, and it was insane. And it's been a very interesting journey for me because I got some red clover estrogen cream from iHerb in the States. And within a few days, it stopped dead. And then I didn't have any for the rest of the year until we moved to Sydney. Exactly the same thing. Probably all the stress of moving just knocked me completely off balance, even though I thought I was handling everything really well. When we got here, you know, I think like you land and all the stress hits you again, like new country, kids are starting again, we're starting again, my business is starting again. And again, the hot sweats came back every 15 minutes. I was, you know, absolutely incapable of sleeping for more than an hour at a time. I would wake up like, you know, like a dying person with a bottle of ice water next to the bed and throwing all the covers off and then suddenly pulling them back on because then your sweat dries and you're freezing and, you know, washing the sheets all the time. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Like,
And now I've been having acupuncture with my amazing acupuncturist that I've tracked down after 20 years. And it's been very interesting because after 4 sessions, they've all gone again. So clearly there's like, you know, this balance that gets disrupted, and you'll know more about this, Bridget. You know, this is not my area of expertise except for my own personal experience, which is pretty much the same with everything I do. Um, and you know, when it gets disrupted, your endocrine system, everything kind of gets knocked off balance. So yes, I was getting very chubby, you know, not in a fappy way, just in a just, you know, pure chub, not fat happy. And feeling, and it was inflammation, right? It was inflammation, it was waterlogging, it was you know, it was really just puffing out. And after this fourth session with my amazing acupuncturist, just, you know, she jammed one right into the base of my foot for my kidney. And the next day, everything felt just completely different. So yeah, Bridget, I'm sure you've got some very interesting advice there.
It's like the long hot summer sometimes for some women and people actually, and a lot of those signs and symptoms scream liver. And when you take your clover, it's really supporting your liver pathways and the way that your liver is able to detox a lot from your body. Because of course, the liver, it is just so under honored, if you like. We don't honor our organs and what they do for us. And the liver makes bile, to make everything pretty much as an emulsifier, to make everything water soluble for us to be able to excrete it. All of our neurotransmitters, our hormones, our messengers, they are in the body. And that's where the mess comes with age, the message. That is pretty much telling the body what to do, but they're built from fat and protein. They need to be broken down. And of course, the body will always detox external toxins before anything. So our internal toxins, meaning our spent hormones, our spent neurotransmitters, all of that can be left behind and create a lot of inflammation.
Oh, so interesting.
And a lot of inflammation, a lot of us think that we're overweight. We go into the stress state and we think, oh, we've been eating too much, and that creates more stress, but it's inflammation. We
Yes.
never really build more fat cells. We only expand them, and we proliferate a lot of a lot of our hormones, our fat, our adipose tissue, and our bone matrix make a lot of our hormones. And these really should be considered as endocrine organs too. And when we look at those pathways as well, as we go through these, we can be more prone to things like osteoporosis. And that is osteo meaning bone, porous meaning holy. We lose the density and it makes it brittle, right? So these processes, all about the hormones and things, is fantastic to be able to understand or understand and really get your strength from knowing what's happening in your body at any particular time and knowing how to nourish it through these perhaps stressful situations that we do go into, because we're never going to, avoid stress. It's the world we live in now. I'm in my 56th solar return. And so I've done menopause, done and dusted. But when I get a bit of stress, I'll get a few hot sweats. And that can be from some of the foods that I'm eating too. That is stress on my body, or emotional stress. I've had a few things going on of late, like we all do. And I might get a bit sort of like hot. It could be the things that I've eaten, and it's holistically, we've got to look at the whole realm of things. It's not just one thing that's happening, and that's cyclic too.
And when we look at menopause, like, this is what surprised me. Here we are, I'm 46, and I know I'm probably in perimenopause, because we can be in that perimenopausal stage for about 10 years, can't we? And menopause itself is the day that you haven't bled for a year, isn't it? It's like, it's a one-day thing, menopause, because you're either premenopause or postmenopause. Menopause itself, which again, shocked the hell out of me. I thought menopause was this whole thing, but it's actually premenopause or postmenopause. Menopause is one year after you haven't bled. So even if you haven't bled for 9 months, then you do some spotting, you have to start again, don't you, for another year? And I was like, this is incredible. But this is stuff that sometimes people don't know. I didn't know until I read about it about a year ago, because I thought I was perimenopausal. And I don't want to say gaslight, because I think, there is all of these millions of symptoms as well that go with being perimenopausal or postmenopausal. And they are true. They are there. These symptoms do happen. So I'm not gaslighting, but the message I would like to say is, it's important to look into your own body to see if you can try to avoid some of these symptoms, isn't it? And as you said, Bridge, the liver is this amazing organ, which again, I underutilized, under honored for a long time, until I've just recently done my liver cleanse. And I'm like, wow, this is a powerhouse organ and I want to feel great. I don't think the message is out there enough that we can prepare our body for menopause. And like, Mel, you're doing amazing stuff. You're going to the acupuncturist, you got your products to help your liver. But there's other things, isn't there? There's like exercise, meditation, clearing as much stress as we possibly can from this stressful world. How do we do that? How can we do some inner healing? How can we get our liver into the right place, that it's functioning correctly, so it can start getting rid of our inner toxins? It's such a, we can become so much more empowered on this journey to menopause, can't we?
Absolutely. And I think that you know, just going on that, and what Bridget said about, say, osteoporosis, you know, our bone density lowers as we get older. So we need to be doing weight training. We need to be doing things that keep our bones strong.
Mhm.
And also our ability to shed toxins is not as efficient as, say, when we're in our teens and 20s, which is why it takes us longer to recover from a night out. It's why it takes us longer to recover from eating rich, bad foods that, you know, our liver is struggling with. And, you know, I gave like a couple of teaspoons of coconut milk to my pup yesterday, and she just puked them right up this morning. I could actually see the coconut milk, you know. So, you know, her body was having this immediate response to something, whereas, you know, as we get older, we're doing something similar. We're responding very, we're getting this buildup of inflammation and then this toxic kind of outlet of symptoms. You know, I talked to a Japanese lady, and I said, you know, do you stop eating raw fish when you're pregnant? And she thought that was hysterically funny. She was like, no, of course not. You know, all the things we're so worried about, they don't even give a second thought to. And then, you know, I asked her about menopause, and sometimes I meet people who have just never gone through menopause, like they've just seamlessly kind of, you know, process their way through it, but they're often quite healthy, well-balanced people, you know. And so if we're quite prone to these emotional ups and downs, if we're quite prone to self-medicating, and, you know, and I'm quite prone to all of these things, to be honest, because, like, you know, that's just my family history, and my genetic makeup and whatever has kind of geared me towards these sort of pathways. But as soon as I start detoxing and cleaning up and exercising and really, you know, getting back into that appreciation for this incredible vessel, the results are very quick.
And there's no translation in Japanese for menopause. They really don't know what it is. And I think that in itself is huge. We have to look at how we're fueling ourselves, and that's not just by what we're eating, it's by what we're hearing. You know, we talked about this the other day, that vibrational energy coming in and actually telling the body what's going on. But when we look at it, and when I look at people, I look at accumulation, because this is an accumulated thing, and we don't, you know, just at 40 or 50 lose bone density because of our age. It's an accumulation. So we need to look at this throughout our lifetime, what we're doing. And that resistance exercise, that weight bearing exercise, is really important, because that's what tells the body we need to, you know, it's almost like when we move, we create these micro shatters in our bone, and that creates a process of rebuild. It's a full process, and that in itself is needed. But what's our bone made of? It's made of minerals, and our minerals are our buffers in our body, right? And these bring us back to that neutral space, because we don't want to be too acidic. We don't want to be too alkaline, because that's all about this electromagnetic pulse that we are, to be able to bring things in and balance them. And if we don't have that, if we have too much acidity, it's going to get buffered out. We start to pull our minerals to buffer things out, and using them in spaces that we don't need if we're too in that space. And that's a lot of what stress does to us too. And it's, stress doesn't come just from what we're thinking or feeling. It comes from, you know, food we're eating, from what we're listening to, from what we're watching, you know, all of these artificial kind of stimulants, or well, sometimes not even artificial. Sometimes they're just things that are coming at us, and we need to find a way to balance it, and you know, make sure that we're sitting in that neutral space so we can take things head on. And with menopause, it's being able to do that. That's what it's saying. Pause.
Yeah.
And perimenopause can go on for years for some women or some people because they've, I mean, it just depends where they're at and they keep feeding the symptoms. Does that make sense? So if we're feeding those symptoms all the time, we're not going to be able to fully heal.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No, it
on
does
a
make sense. And I love what you've just said about like what stress, people think stress, don't they? Stress, stress, stress. But stress is all around us, isn't it? It's like I say, it's what you watch on TV, it's what you listen to, the music, you listen to things with hideous lyrics, or you're watching something where they're shooting them up and stuff. It's everything that we are absorbing, isn't it? But at the end of the day, as well, learn how to deal with stress. That would be an amazing thing that anybody can do, whether you're going through menopause or not. Stress is such a hideous thing that happens to our body. But also understand that menopause is a natural thing. We are supposed to go through menopause. And I don't even think we begin to celebrate that. It's seen as like this dreaded fear, like, oh, menopause, we've got to go through yet another thing. And as women, I do believe we do go through a heck of a lot. We start menstruating, about 12, 13, 14, and we bleed every month.
Mm.
It's not the nicest thing, but we can learn to celebrate it. Once you learn that, to honor your body and the cycle it's going through on that monthly thing, and how amazing, we are the bearer of life, whether we are mothers or not. We are life givers. That's what we do from our feminine essence. And menopause is just another process we are going through, that we are fortunate enough to go through because we are women. And
Mm.
if you can go into menopause with that frame of mind rather than fear and dread and being in the doldrums because, oh my god, it's going to be hideous, because you do hear all the hideous stories of menopause, don't you? But then, as you say, Mel and Bridge, like the odd person who just sails through it. And I've been telling myself my entire life I'm going to sail through it. Whether or not I do, I'll let you know in a few years when I hit it and it's happened. But it's, I think, mindset. We did a recording on the power of the mind yesterday. The power of our mind is so incredible. So if you can turn anything, and perception, the way we perceive the world, if you change your perception, your whole life changes. And that's what I'm going into my menopause journey with. I'm going into it as a celebration of my life, that my eggs that I was born with, that my mother carried me in her womb with my eggs in me, that then went on to produce my beautiful children, that now my eggs are no longer. So I'm going to go into it as a celebration. And if I have symptoms, I will deal with them as they come, and I will do my liver cleanse and I will do all of the right stuff. But I feel like the power of the mind is, if we can conquer that and go into it with a good mindset, I feel like that's a good basis to go in on.
Absolutely. And actually on that, you're talking about how we start menstruating very young, and that's quite hard. We're losing, blood every month. Our body's hormones are flooding us with, all the growth hormones, and everything else is starting to develop. And that is often, quite traumatic for kids to come into that. And when our girls, they probably won't appreciate me saying this, but when they got their period, I took Salim out, their dad, and we went shopping, and he had to pick a present for the girls, like jewelry, and he bought Alexia this beautiful crystal egg, and he chose it and gave it to his daughters each time, and we had a special celebratory dinner, and we welcomed her into the world of the woman. And
Oh,
so we had a beautiful dinner, and he brought this present, and then he gave it to them at dinner, and we made it this huge celebration, right? When each of them did that. And it was so beautiful, and it actually elevated this experience into something almost spiritual, like like a kind of sweet 16.
but it is
And
spiritual, isn't it?
it
And
is.
when you look
And
culturally, that's what they used to do. They used to have a celebration.
yes,
They'd take you
that's
into the temple with
right.
the other women, and
Yeah.
you'd have
Yeah.
that support and that community. I think that's so beautiful.
It was really beautiful. And then coming into menopause, I see so many women really grieving the loss of their period. And actually what I've done is I have welcomed in the wisdom of the grandmother. And I feel like I'm truly in the grandmother wisdom now. Like I feel like I want to go and just mollycoddle all the young ones. I'm adopting all these, little renegades who, have difficult relationships with their parents. And I just want to fold them all under my chicken wing. And, I'm just really like honoring this space that I've come into where I am no longer required to be in this kind of strutting sort of phase of luckily not needing to find a mate or anything, but we go through this when we're young, right? It's sort of like we need to present a certain thing, like the peacock and the birds, in the mating cycles, because we go through that as humans too. And now I feel like I've just released all of that, and I'm flowing in this kind of grandmother sort of with the mokapuna, and I'm taking a bit more time to do everything, and I'm slowing down, and I'm enjoying I'm not slowing down as in going out, but I'm just starting to really be more present with everyone. And even though I'm still a mum of teenagers, I feel very much in the grandmother energy, which I'm really loving. I have to say, I'm really
And
loving it.
I think that energy is the wise woman energy. And that's when you know that you're in this phase. And I love what you've both spoken about, because we're the portal of life. That's what we're celebrating. And yeah, it is, we're each born with the eggs. And my daughter's carried her eggs, through their generations. It's all of that layer. And that's so beautiful, honoring each of us through each of these journeys of transition and, celebrating that. That's what we have to do, because we're so miraculous. We don't give ourselves that true honor. And what you said yesterday in our podcast, we're self-healing, we're self-organizing, we're self-regulating. We need to trust in that, and that our body will bring balance when we allow it, when we feed it the right ingredients and allow it, and start to celebrate who we are. We are miraculous, amazing beings. We bring life. We nurture life. We don't get a guidebook, And then when we hit these perimenopausal years, they're a bit chaotic. And it's because we've got teenagers running all over the place and going through their own transitions. And we've got all this different vibrational energy, but just bringing it back to that celebration. Every time I menstruated, since I was about 40, right through perimenopause, I'd actually celebrate that, because it meant that I could still have a child. It meant that I could still bring life into the world. And I have 4 pregnancies. I've got 1 girl earth side. And so I really celebrate that. So we need to celebrate us being, the teenager, the baby, the woman, the mother, and now coming into this wise woman where we can be the kuya, the real, bringing the life and the wisdom and from experience, because that's what we've done. We've all walked different paths. We've all had different, journeys, but bringing that back together in connection, it's the remember ourselves back into that community. We are all one. We all bring this beautiful energy, and we deserve to be celebrated.
We certainly do deserve to be celebrated. And before we leave our tips for listeners, I just want to also say, I do know also a lot of women who have actually gone into really deep extremes with their menopause journey. Like they've been suicidal because all of a sudden your hormones go woohoo, and there's this off balance. When your hormones are off balance, it can literally make you feel like you are crazy insane. And I just want to honor that. And what honor anybody's journey, because you know what, there is no right or wrong in this. We are just talking about our own personal journeys here, and from the people we know and what we feel is true in our heart. And even though we are kind of health practitioners, the three of us, I know women who have tried everything and then they've gone and got some HRT, and that has been the thing that has been their absolute biggest lifesaver. So all my first tip for anybody is listen to you. Listen to your body and what feels right for you, because it's like, you remember when there used to be shame about whether you breastfed or bottle fed your baby? I say bullshit to all of that, because we are all surviving and we're all getting through, and you have to do what you got to do. So if your journey is to go and grab a patch of HRT, because that is what's going to help you regulate your hormones and make your journey better, you do that with the power of your mind and you celebrate it. And you go into it because it's your journey and your path. So listen to whatever it is you want. You know, if you want to do the full health and your liver cleansing and exercise and lifting weights, absolutely, I believe we should all be doing that anyway, even if you're on HRT. But first and foremost, listen to you and what feels right for you on your journey, because nobody knows you better than yourself. That's my
Beautiful.
tip.
I love that. And I totally agree, Jo. I mean, I've talked, because I think that the one thing that we need to start doing as a community of women is talking about this more, communicating with each other. Because the one thing that happened with me is I was going around, I was like, why is nobody talking about this? I mean, I feel like we're just starting to open these conversations, but it seemed to be this big kind of shameful thing. I know women that literally have never spoken a word about their menopause journey. Like, it's almost like they're terrified someone's going to find out their age, or they're terrified someone's going to find out, they're getting older, or, they're no longer sort of attractive, or, whatever it is. Or, and then when I actually started talking to people, I found all these people, they were like, oh yeah, I've been on HRT for years, or I've done this, or I've done that. And I'm like, why has nobody talked about this? Like, this is really helpful information for me. So, yeah, I would say open the lines of communication, open the dialogue, and share your experiences. Because, you take that information and then you go within and you find out which ones resonate for you. And the journey is, as with children, it takes a village. We're meant to be a village. So, these relationships and sharings are so important for us in order to feel connected to the human spirit, and our growth and evolution. It's just so important for all of our stages that we're connected.
I love that.
And never get stuck. That would be my tip. Don't, nothing's forever. You're not stuck there. When I didn't really talk about my journey, but I've had a lot of dark nights, and, a lot of sleeplessness and a lot of stress. And I don't drink alcohol because I choose, and because of the way my body responds to that. And I didn't like how I felt after drinking. And I think it's through those years. I mean, I haven't drunk for about 15, 16 years now. I've had the odd espresso martini with friends. Just a sip, actually, is all I need. But, never get stuck in one place. We are adaptable. We are so self-regulating. Just trust in that. And whatever's coming through at the time, it's telling you something. Listen, it's your body. And never feel isolated. Like Melly said, we're all women. And we all have different experiences, but nothing's ever wrong and nothing's ever right. It's what's good for you, and what makes you feel better tomorrow. Do that today, because, and even if you can and you are feeling a bit stuck, do one thing for yourself that day. One thing, it might just be even brushing your teeth, if that's, as big as that. But that's nurturing yourself, and it is nurturing yourself and not doing anything that day if that's where you feel, but you won't be stuck in that forever. And it's like, our emotions, feeling in that space. That does not define us. That's moving always. So don't get stuck.
I think we're definitely going to have to do another recording on menopause. But you know what I say to our listeners? If you're listening and you know anybody who's going through menopause please send this on to them, but also send this on to the men in your life, because we need to get this message out to men as well. Because, I've heard things like, I train a lot of men as well as women in my PT world. And I've heard men go, oh yeah, I'm not getting together with another woman going through menopause. I've lived through that one. Something, you've got no idea, mate. You've got no freaking idea. So shut your freaking mouth. But yeah, we need more men to be supportive. We need more men like Salim who will go out and buy his daughter a gift for coming into womanhood. We need more men to understand that if your partner is going, whoa, crazy, she needs you to just love her, not to attack her, not to do anything else other than to just love her and to help her by loving her, asking her what she needs. So send this video to all the men and the women in your life, because that's what we need. We need it to be talked about more. And let us know if you'd like us to talk about more topics, because we're here for you. We're here to talk about anything. Nothing is off limits. Mwah!